Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's me, David Jefferson, your San Diego real estate professional, and I'm here with my friend, the man, the myth, the legend, Erwin Martinez, title rep extraordinaire. How you doing today, brother?
Fantastic. Nothing better than enjoying a beautiful Saturday with my friend David Jefferson, one of the
There
best
we
realtors
go.
I know, my friend.
Hey,
Trust
I
me.
appreciate that.
That comes from the heart, bro. That comes from the heart.
There we go. I appreciate you, brother. So I got a couple questions for you. Recently, a couple clients that I had some questions about title, kind of what it is, wanted to know a little bit more. So I figured, hey, who better than the best title rep I know to ask these questions? So I just want to go through a couple questions with you really fast, if you don't mind, and just get your opinion on some things about title.
Absolutely, man. I'm an open book, brother. Please
Perfect.
ask
Okay,
ahead.
so
Ask away. Go ahead.
the first question, all right, what is title?
That's a good question. And it's funny. I wish more people ask this question. So title insurance actually is the protection of your legal ownership of a property. So just like when you have title to a car, that's a legal ownership. Well, you'll have legal ownership to a property, and title insurance helps protect that so that you are not robbed of your home.
Okay. Sounds very important. Sounds like definitely something that we for sure need when buying or selling a house.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. So my second question, who pays for the title insurance policy? Is that going to be a buyer's fee or a seller's fee?
Actually, that's a great question as well. Actually, there's going to be two policies in a sale. One policy is paid for by the seller, okay, and
Okay.
that policy actually protects the buyer, right? And
Yep.
that just ensures that the title that the buyer is receiving is free and clear without any liens and judgments or any encumbrances, right? Now, the buyer will also pay a title policy to protect the lender for the money that he or she is borrowing to purchase that property.
So then let me ask this, as a seller, why would I want to pay for the title insurance policy for the buyer?
That's funny that you asked, and I get that question a lot. And the first reason is that as a seller, you want to guarantee to the buyer that you're providing them with clear title, right?
Yep.
And the seller might say, well, why, yeah, it's clear. What's the big deal? I said, well, here's the big deal. If you don't have title protection, and let's say there was an issue that occurred on title that was passed on to the buyer, then the
Yep.
buyer can turn around and sue the seller. Okay. Now with title insurance, that's the buffer between the seller and the buyer. So if there was an issue on title that was for some reason missed, then instead of having the buyer sue the seller, right, the buyer would just make a claim on their title policy. Okay, make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, that definitely makes sense. So then let me ask this from the buyer side, right? From the buyer's title policy, is it mandatory? Must I have that title insurance policy as a buyer?
Interesting question. There's two requirements. So if as a buyer, if you are using an institutional lender, a big bank, for example, a lender, then that lender will require that buyer to purchase title policy to protect their investment in the purchase of the home. Now, on the other hand, since the seller is paying for the policy to protect the buyer, then why wouldn't a buyer agree to accept title policy to protect he or she as the buyer? It's really a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a benefit for you as a
Yeah,
buyer.
absolutely,
You don't
absolutely.
even have to pay for that one.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. So my next question, how long does my title policy last?
That's an interesting question. I never get that question. So you're sharp. You're a sharp individual, my friend. So
Hey,
actually, your title policy will last from the time that you acquire title to the time that you actually release title or sell the property.
okay.
So that entire time that you own the property, you have title insurance protection.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to
Yes.
know. All right. So then let me see some other questions I have here that I recently got. Um, so does the title insurance, does it work kind of like homeowners insurance? Is it going to protect me like a homeowners insurance policy would?
It's actually different. So, homeowners insurance actually protects the physical structure, right? So, if you have damage to the house and so on and so forth, that's where your homeowners insurance kicks in, right? Well, title insurance, what that does, it protects your legal ownership, right? And also protects you against any challenges to your ownership. So, for example, let's say that I sold the property to you, right? I had some liens that I acquired while I owned the property, but for some reason they were not caught and they were passed on to you as a new owner, right? Well, your title policy will then kick in and protect you from having to deal with all those liens and judgments that were as a result of me. In addition, there are also coverages that people don't even think about. So, for example, people buy a home, right? And let's say there's a fence between your new home and the neighbor's home. And at some point in time, the neighbor wants to build a new fence. And they decide to do kind of a survey, you know, with a professional survey company. And lo and behold, guess what? That property line actually extends into your property, right? That's called an encroachment. Well, what you would do is then you would make a claim on your title insurance policy, and we would make you whole on that, right? So we either pay out the neighbor or come to some sort of agreement so that it's in some way you're made whole on that encroachment. Does that make sense?
Take care of us. Yeah, you'll take care of us pretty much if that is right.
But the biggest thing that protects people is really just to protect their equity. So, for example, David, would you agree that in San Diego that each and every year property values tend to increase, right?
Yep.
Right. So that means as an owner, you're acquiring equity, right?
Yep.
It's like money in the bank, right?
Yeah.
So now, well, how would you feel if that money that you have acquired in the value property was somehow stolen from you?
Oh, I'd be heated. I'd be frustrated.
Right. And that could be a significant amount of money. And for some people, that could be 50, 60, over $100,000, right?
Yeah.
Right. So when I mentioned earlier about how someone could rob your title, well, this is what can happen.
That makes
fraudulently, someone could actually create documents to appear that they own your property. They acquire title on your property, and then they turn around and they get loans or liens against that property and pull that money out, right? And that's how they would rob your home of its equity.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So, and it's more common than you think, especially in today's world with a lot of the technology people use and the sophistication of the forgery that people are using nowadays. It becomes more and more of a challenge to really protect, your largest investment, right, David?
Yeah. No. Heck yeah. And it also kind of also sounds like you guys are like that. Like we see like for the computer viruses, right? Like the Norton antivirus, checking, making sure. Kind of seems like the same thing we're gonna get as well.
Yeah. So what happens is that if you're ever alerted that there's some challenges or there's some activity on the title of your property, right? So you get notices in the mail that you owe this loan that you never even applied for, then there could be an indication that maybe somebody has forged documents and was able to get to show that they own your property, and then they were borrowed against that, right? At that point in time, you would then reach out to your company and then make a claim on your insurance policy. We would step in and using all our resources and such, be able to help you rectify that.
Okay, so you got our back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, okay, one of my last questions. We know like insurance premiums for things like car insurance and health insurance, they kind of go up every year. You touched on it a little bit because I know we only have to pay for the title insurance policy one time. So like these other insurance premiums, our title insurance isn't going to go up on us.
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's funny, that's the misconception that most people have. But the reality is you're absolutely right, David. You pay one time at the close of escrow, okay?
Yep.
You never have to renew, and there's never going to be an increase. It's just a one-time fee, and then you have that protection all the way through. So again, what we do, all our work is done ahead of time to try to ensure that you are getting clear title from the seller to the buyer. And again, we take the risk that, that hopefully nothing will happen. Things do, and that's what we're here for.
Yep. So then to touch bases on that a little bit right before I let you go, brother, I'm sure you have some horror stories or some specific cases that you can specifically remember where you had some title issues. Share one with us if you don't mind.
One of my favorites, actually, it was really sad when I heard it, but it was early in my career, and it really helped see me set the tone of how important this is, right? So I had an agent way back in the day. He had a buyer that was really just looking for just a killer deal, right? And he just couldn't find the right deal. And so he decided to tell my agent, you know what, I'm not gonna use your service anymore. I'm just gonna take a break. Turns out this buyer found what we call for sale by owner, a person selling their home without the benefit of a real estate professional, right? Yeah. So those two made a transaction together. So the buyer and the seller worked together without any agents, right? Without any escrow and without any title insurance, right? Yeah, they saved a little bit of money, right? But this is what happened, David. So a few months later, right, this buyer, thinking he got the most amazing deal and he outsmarted the whole process, yeah. He started getting notices that he had all these liens on his property. Over $100,000 in liens that were actually originated by the seller, okay? Now, since those liens were not cleared before the title was transferred from the seller to the buyer, then the buyer inherited those liens and they were attached to his property. Therefore, he could not refinance, nor could he sell the property unless those liens were handled, right? Yeah, it was a huge misstep for that buyer, and he called my agent looking for help. My agent called me, and I said, well, unfortunately, without any protection, he is really pretty much left to his own devices. He had to retain an attorney, cost him more money, and really it just turned out to be a bad situation overall.
Dang.
Yeah. It's you don't really hear these things a lot, but I see them all the time, and those are the stories that I try to pass on to my clients, like you, David, so you can explain or help your clients understand the importance of being protected. Because again, would you agree, David? A home is probably going to be the largest financial investment in most person's lives, right?
Oh yeah, definitely agree.
And for a lot of people, that ends up being kind of a nest egg when they end up retiring, right?
Yep.
And how would you feel if all that money was somehow siphoned away?
I'd feel heated, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be able to imagine that.
Yeah. And that's why we're here, and that's why there are honest, trustworthy, and diligent agents like yourself, David, who really care about your clients, put together a good team, such as myself, and we really make sure that your clients have the best transaction and they really achieve their dreams and goals of home ownership.
Hey, yeah, no, definitely. And that's one thing that I want to let everyone out there watching know, that every transaction that I've been in, Erwin has been the utmost professional. He's done his job above and beyond his call of duty. So I'll definitely leave your information as well, brother. If anybody out there is looking for a title rep or needs title insurance policy, I want you guys to contact him. Again, he's who I use on all my transactions. So I definitely want to recommend him for all of you out there as well. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Subscribe, like, share this video. And we look forward to speaking with Erwin again here soon in the near future.
Anytime, my friend. Always happy to help. You're a good person, and I support you, and I love you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Right. I love you as well.
Have a fantastic rest of the week, all right?
Thank you. You too, Erwin.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sure.